The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to the Hoop Ball NBA DFS Today podcast. Today is Wednesday, December 4th, and we are going to break down a busy 10-game NBA slate for you. My name is Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined by the one, the only NBA DFS shark, Mr. Michael Apotria. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing well. I had a busy day, Coach. I didn't get too many lineups in tonight's card. I think we all of us pros, we run across that time once in a while where, you feel like you prepared enough and everything, but I just didn't feel like I had all the time and all the things necessary to go and pump out, 20 lineups tonight. So I kind of took it easy. I just did a couple of the 3-entry maxes and I called it a night. You know what I mean? I think that's the smartest way to play sometime. And if you know you're not going to be able to watch the lock and do all of that, then just limit your shares.
Yeah, you have to. You've got to. You always have to be smart, manage the bankroll smart, and sometimes that means passing a little bit, no doubt.
But it was a fun slate. It was one of those slates where I did wish I got a few more, especially with the Thomas Bryant news over there in Washington. There was a lot of fun stuff to keep an eye on tonight, and there was definitely if you had that edge and you watched the news and you played it right, you definitely were profitable.
Yeah, I'll tell you though, it was painful because I could have taken down some big stuff. I'm doing fine, but it wasn't the big night it could have been. Luka didn't play in the fourth quarter because the Mavs went up by 20, but he still had like ridiculous 28 and 18 rebounds, which, he would have easily had a 2020 game and then some. But, man, he's just looking better and better every game. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think he was in the same breath as guys like Kareem and LeBron and Magic with the stats he set tonight as one of the only players in under 30 minutes to get 30, 15, and 5.
Jeez, unreal.
So he's amazing. I mean, people are talking about him being, one of the best players under 20. No, he's flat out one of the best players in the NBA right now. There's no doubt about it.
It is. It's crazy. And the Mavs are 14-6 and keep on rolling. So it's good stuff.
Better than we both expected, I'm sure. I mean, we're both Mavs fan. I had some decent expectations for us. We were talking, maybe being 8 seed, and they're blowing the roof off the doors, man, and they're not done. We were talking about it last show. They're going to be a fun team to watch, and it's a funny year, man. The West is wide open right now. I mean, there's the two top dogs that everyone's keeping an eye on with the guys in LA, but Mavs are creeping.
Oh, they're going to be right there, and they're going to pull the trigger on a trade or two as well. I do think they're going to finalize the Iguodala thing. That just makes perfect sense, for Courtney Lee in a second rounder or two. I mean, you got to make that move. So I hope it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, but there's still a long ways to go. We got the key is staying healthy, like anything else. That's what the NBA is all about. You got to keep your guys playing. I mean, it's that simple. Look at poor Golden State.
Oh man, they're gonna get a nice little pick out of it. They'll be all right.
Yeah, they will. Well, listen, we might as well jump in here, man. 10 games. That's a big slate for midweek. But I love it, man. I like the more games, the better. I know everybody loves the 5, 6, 7, or 4, 5, 6, whatever, the just manageable. I like the bigger slates. I think as pros, we have a bigger edge because we're more prepared. We can dig in, and it's not as intimidating, as it is for some people just trying to look at all the stats and do everything. So the more games, the better for me. I'm loving it, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank our presenting sponsor, Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company. They are the founding sponsor of hoop-ball.com and our DFS show. So we want to thank them for their support. And, we just ask that you support us by jumping on and rating, reviewing, and subscribing on our podcast. Just take a second if you can. Hit the 5 stars, likes, positive reviews, thumbs up. If you have a few extra seconds, a comment is also great. And, we appreciate that. That really helps us grow the show and get out there to some sponsors, and certainly makes Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee Company happy as well. So look them up online. You can order there, or I always recommend just jumping on Amazon, couple of clicks, and it's on your doorstep the next day. So, all right, man, we talked about the Warriors briefly, mentioned them, and they're our first game of the night, 7 p.m. game, Golden State 4-18 at the Charlotte Hornets, 8-14. So, not two teams that are seeing a lot of success. I will try something a little bit different today just to keep a mix up. I think what I'll do is I'll give you the game, I'll give you the pace and the defensive ranking, and then I'll let you jump into the game so we can almost like game script it a little bit as opposed to just each taking a team, just to keep it fresh, man.
I like it, Coach. I got to keep it fresh, man.
Absolutely. All right, so Golden State at Charlotte, pace-wise, Golden State right now 14th, so middle of the pack at 103.2. Charlotte Hornets all the way down to 25th. They have definitely continued to drop and have slowed down the pace, which is definitely a concern a little bit in this game. When you have a 10-game slate and you see two teams below the midway mark on pace, definitely raises some eyebrows there of concern. As far as defensive efficiency, we know Golden State is not good. They're 27th, which is actually an improvement. They were last for a while, so the 27th is not good, but better than where they were. Charlotte somehow has dropped to 29th. Can you believe that? So Charlotte is a worse defensive team than Golden State. So even though we don't have great pace here, we have terrible defense. So what do you got for a game script, man?
I think this is both. Everybody in this game is playable on both sides of the ball from a point of game script sense. And so when you take into the price tags, that's what's going to make the big difference for me. I'll start over here on Golden State. Draymond Green playing 6,200, too much for me. We know his minutes are going to be limited. I don't really want anything to do with it. It's a fantastic matchup. You could always catch the almost triple-double Draymond Green upside. But if he's going to be playing 27 or less minutes, I just don't want to dive into that at that price tag. Maybe if he gets down to that 5 range, we can consider him 55, 54.
Right.
I'll have a couple shares, but not at that price tag. Playing Bowman, I was all over it last game, and he performed well other than just the absolute blowout, which that really limited him. He got 30 DK points in 37 minutes. But we're not going to, with Draymond playing, they're going to do the point forward thing for a little while. Yeah. That cuts into Bowman's time, so that kind of takes him off the edge for me. Burks is the up and down guy. He's a GPP play. I wouldn't really consider him in cash, especially at that price tag. But if you wanted to take a stab at him in a GPP, because he does have that 40-point upside, like you said, Charlotte plays no defense. So this is one of those matchups where I think you could target him. And he's probably, other than like Glenn Robinson, the two wing guys, nobody's really enticing me too much on Golden State. I think Pascal's the option. We just kind of caught that big game last one against Atlanta. 6,500 is a high price tag with Draymond playing, cuts into the power forward time for him, especially with Looney back as well. So I'm kind of off of the whole Golden State train, except for Burks in tournaments, and then if you wanted to take a look at Robinson in cash. Other than that, I'm good with Golden State, man. How about you?
I'm with you. They are just so bizarre. The last game they started Looney and Cauley Stein next to each other, which was like, shocking. I couldn't believe they started those two guys. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with Draymond back, if they play all three of them, or who knows what they're going to do, man. But they have 9 guys. They're lousy, and they're going to be splitting minutes. And it seems like everybody wants to dumpster dive and take a couple of value guys from the Warriors. But, the bad news is they're not really value guys anymore. Pascal is now priced up there to where he's not a value of any kind. You can find some other people very similar pricing that, their minutes are secure and they're going to be in a little bit more competitive game. So, I'm definitely going to pass on the Warriors, and I hope people keep dialing up a couple of guys from there, because when Draymond's been back, it's the biggest blow is to Kai Bowman. It doesn't seem to make sense because you got a point guard with a power forward coming back, but it's just the rotation that Kerr uses. So, I just don't see anybody that I'm going to be interested in playing from the Warriors side.
Yeah,
I
was going to say it's also worth mentioning that D'Angelo Russell is going to be questionable for this game, so he's making his return soon as well. If he does play, you could just pretty much throw any of the guards out for me because he's going to be playing on a limited minutes basis, I'm sure, in his first game returning. But it's going to impact Burks and Bowman and Robinson even more, especially if they're playing bigger. So just another thing to keep an eye on going forward. But for Charlotte, I think it's pretty much the same two guys I'm always looking at, Rozier and Graham. I think it's a fantastic matchup for Rozier. Thrives up in these kind of, medium-paced, fast-paced, dumpster dive matchups where it's just two bad teams where he can get 4 quarters, and it'll probably be competitive for most of the game. Played well in the first time these two teams met up, came out for like 35, 36 DK points. So I think he's an option. Graham, man, he's been rolling. He's one of those guys. He's almost got that like Andrew Wiggins enigma for me where I just don't want to jump on him. I feel like an idiot never playing him. I never play him. He just does it every single game, though. So it's 7,700. I just think, do I want to jump on him at 7,700? It's a good matchup. I won't argue with anybody that wants to do it. I just don't. I think I'd rather pay down for Rozier the 1,200 less.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's sort of expensive, but he's the best player on the team. I mean, people have been a little bit more hesitant, I think, to go to him because they see that price. But, he's their go-to guy. He had a great second half this last game. It's just tough with the 10-game slate. But, man, I would love to dial him up. If I take anybody from this game, it's going to be him. I've been able to hit him pretty good on the games that he plays well. And he's not just strictly points dependent. He'll get you some good assists and usually a couple steals or something in there. So Devontae is my guy that I have circled here if I can fit in his salary.
Hey, not knocking you. I mean, if I ever got him right, I would be playing more of him. And it's not even like it's he's up and down. No, he's pretty much more up than he is down. I just happen to play him on the nights he's down. I can't get that guy right. So with 10 other games, I'll let him beat me if he beats me. If he's the guy that goes off for 55, so be it.
I remember rostering for 4,200. Those were the days, man, at the beginning of the year. It was beautiful. All right, game 2, Milwaukee Bucks, 18-3, looking unbeatable. They're playing at the Detroit Pistons. Pistons coming off, it'll be their second game of a back-to-back. They're 8-13. They routed tonight, though. They just blew the doors in. Who did they? I can't remember who it was, but they killed them really up by 30, I think, in the beginning of the third quarter. So they're looking better now that Blake's back. Drummond has just been a complete machine. So this will be interesting. It was the Cavaliers. They beat them by 33. But, Milwaukee's playing fantastic ball. It's that simple. And Detroit, with that big front line, the question is, can they give them any difficulty? From the pace standpoint, we know Milwaukee plays fast. They're the third fastest in the league, and we know Detroit doesn't. They're 26th. They set up that half-court offense, either pound it into Drummond or run it through Blake at the top of the key as like the point forward. So they're going to, it's going to be a battle of, who controls pace here. Defensively, Milwaukee, fourth in the league on defense as a team. They do a great job all over the floor. So that'll be a challenge for Detroit. Detroit is only 20th on defense. A little bit of that, is due to they've had guys out, including Griffin and other guys. So I think their defense is actually a little better than that. I think that'll rise up a little bit. But this becomes a tough game with a 10-game slate. It makes it a little bit more difficult. What's your take?
So I'm looking at this game, and it's just like I think the Bucks are rolling right now. They got Middleton back, everybody's healthy. Brook Lopez is probable to play in this, so that takes away the Robin Lopez love. So you're going to be game scripting this just like you would with any other Bucks game. Giannis is
Yeah.
always going to be in play. If you think he's going to play 30 plus minutes, you're going to want to run it back with probably either Drummond, Kennard, or Blake. My exact as build right now, I always do multiple GPP lineups where I roll out multiple lineups where I'll fade him in some and a couple other ones I'll go with the script. But it looks like I'm probably going to fade it just because I'm not liking the pieces I'm going to have to run it back with. If it's a different matchup, we're looking at Drummond going against a healthy Brook Lopez. I don't like those kind of stand in the paint centers when we know Brook Lopez is going to stretch the floor, especially with Drummond where we know most of his values in his rebounding. He's going to be getting pulled away from the hoop. Blake Griffin, it's cheap. He's cheap on DK. It makes me want to think about it, but Giannis and that one-on-one defense right there, I don't want to mess with that. He just hasn't looked himself. He just doesn't look too comfortable yet, still kind of getting back to his usual form. So I think I'm going to fade him as well. And just knowing that I don't want to play either one of those guys kind of takes away from Giannis a little bit. So I'm not really too much onto this game at all, to be honest. If I'm looking at anybody, it might just be Middleton, knowing that he's 6,100. He's back playing with the starting lineup, but he's still playing limited minutes. He played well in the last one, so I don't know, Coach. You tell me. It's hard. I feel like I'm forcing something if I go with anybody in this game.
Yeah, I mean, on a 10-game slate, like I say, I don't think I'm going to go dive into this well either. I think people are going to be tempted, as you said, to go with Griffin just because of his price. But I agree. I don't think he's 100% right, and he's going to get some Giannis defense as well. And Drummond is always tempting just because of the rebound potential, but I don't see any value in this game. By the way, I was really happy to see. I tried to steer everybody off of that fake Rolo value the last game, the day before last, and he didn't do a darn thing. So that was good to see. But sometimes you have to just fade that cheap value chalk when it just doesn't look like they're going to produce. So that but that goes away now, obviously, with his brother back. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I think this is just a simple pass game. And I do think people are going to be tempted to dial up a guy or two in this game, but I don't want to pay the top dollar for Giannis on a 10-game slate. I know the guy just averages like literally 60 fantasy points a game, but it just seems like if there's a game where they could, chop away at him a little bit, this seems like it would be it, where he, might not quite make value. So passing with you, man.
Alrighty. Ready to go. I think the next one would probably be a little bit more interesting for us.
Yeah, it definitely will be. It is the third 7 p.m. Eastern start. Phoenix Suns 9-10 at the Orlando Magic 9-11. 9-11. That tells you right there. That sort of explains those two teams right now. But on the pace side, you've got Phoenix sitting at 11th. So they are getting up and down the floor a little bit. But you've got the dead last Orlando Magic, who are definitely pounding the ball into the ground a little bit and slow it down. You got the game is at Orlando, and defensively you've got the Phoenix Suns, who are currently 18th in the league. They were in the top 10 at the beginning of the year. They have been falling a couple of spots per week. And then on the other side, defensively, you've got the Orlando Magic, who, with that slow pace, are stymieing teams a little bit. Where are they? I can't find them. They're 9th. They're still in the top 10. I didn't realize they were up that high. So, that's interesting. Now, there's a bunch of injuries in this game. Rubio's probably not going to play. I'll let you go into the game script a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, so I mean, right now Rubio's dealing with a hand injury. He's currently questionable. He's being listed as, but we've seen them kind of take precautions with Rubio. He's kind of been a little bit of injury prone throughout his career, and he's already been sidelined for a little bit this season. So it wouldn't be a shocker to kind of see him rest. So I mean, it's a wait and see approach with him. do have to give him his shout outs for winning me that chicken soup challenge bet. We talked about it a little bit
Yeah,
before here. Taking down Brogdon didn't even need the 5 point spot. So he got it done last game. So it's just going to show you at this price tag, if he were fully healthy and playing, I do think he would be an option. But I'm not going overboard on too many people on Phoenix. Like you said, it's going to be a down pace. They're playing at a down pace. Orlando's defense is very good. I'm hopping off Oubre. I just don't like that matchup, but going against Jonathan Isaac in this kind of game script. If I'm looking at anybody, it would probably be the value on this side. And I might be looking at a guy like Mikal Bridges. I just think that he's a pretty solid play at 3,800 in DK. Played 30 minutes in the last one. The shot attempts were there for him, 5 of 12. He's always going to put up the defensive numbers, one of the steal specialists that we know. So I think that he'd be a decent value option at 3,800, barring the news that we'll probably get some, a couple better ones that break later on.
Well, that's a chicken soup challenge we've got to look at because I don't like Mikal Bridges. I don't think he's that good. I really don't. So keep an eye out for a cheap $3,800 guy. We'll get the chicken soup challenge going. On the Orlando side, Baines is going to be out again. Isn't that correct? Or
yes.
Is he questionable? Yeah, he's out. So, the whole Kim Bird, Mo Bamba thing in the paint. Gordon played pretty well, but he'll be banging around with Saric. This is just such a miserable game, I think, to play. What I can say is this, though. I think I may take a shot at Booker, and I'll tell you why. There's a massive jump in his usage when Rubio does not play. He goes from mid-20s up to about 33.5% usage, which is a massive jump. So, Rubio definitely takes away from DFS points for Booker. And if he does sit, Fournier is not exactly a defensive stopper if that's who's going to guard him. And if Phoenix is going to stay in this game, I think it's going to be on Booker's shoulders. So I think he may come in very low owned because he's expensive, but could be one of those guys that could put up a secret smash game here with Rubio and Baines out. And I agree with you. I think that Oubre and Jonathan Isaac are a little bit of the Spider-Man versus Spider-Man thing. Similar, really good defensive wing guys, rangy. And they may eliminate each other a little bit, and therefore, I may go with a sneaky Booker play.
I don't mind, but I'm always aboard playing Booker. It's just that tantalizing upside. I'm a GPP guy. I'm always looking towards the upside. I definitely think he has it in any matchup. He's pretty much a matchup proof kind of guy. Double teams don't bother him. He's used to that. We heard that 100 times now. So. I definitely think he's in there. I think looking at the AK, like I said, rather just knowing that it's going to be a down pace for Phoenix and that Orlando is pretty good defensively. That taking a shot on the cheaper guy, like I said, Bridges. Maybe if you want to take advantage of like a Tyler Johnson, if Rubio sits.
Tyler Johnson got a did not play coach's decision,
which is weird. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know if that would happen. I wouldn't anticipate that happening again if Rubio sits.
I wouldn't think so either, but it scares me on his minutes. I think they're going to Okobo as the backup now, right?
I don't know how long they've been doing that for. I mean, Okobo only played. He didn't even play in the last one either. So most of the minutes probably went to Carter. And like I said, we did see Bridges get 30. So Bridges actually absorbed a fair amount of the minutes, and they probably slide Booker over to the point. So there's more. There's a few avenues to that. So it's going to be dependent on the starting lineup. I think that. Rubio sitting out it's mostly going to end up just kind of, let's just start Tyler Johnson, just try to keep the bench the way it is, the bench unit the same kind of thing. I could see that happening, but you never know. They might just slide Booker over, put him at point. They could start Bridges, move somebody down. They have several options. It's early enough at a 7 o'clock game, Eastern Standard Time. We'll have the lineups before it locks.
I'll tell you, though, on a 10-game slate, my initial feel is all those guards you just mentioned, Carter, Okobo, Johnson, and Bridges, I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. You don't need to on a slate like this, in my opinion.
No, you're right. You're most likely probably right at the end of the day. Like I said, this is just if you're pinpointing on the guy in the game I want to look at, probably those guys. I think we're going to probably have better news and stuff open up throughout from now. We're recording this at 10:45 the night before, so there'll probably be some better stuff that breaks through that we can feel a little bit more secure and reliable about. But listen, if one of those, whatever guy, the value play that does get rolled in the starting lineup, whether it's Bridges or Tyler Johnson, they'll be in play. In play doesn't mean they're the best play, though. They're still definitely playable. I'll have a couple shares.
All right, man. Not for me in cash, no way. All right, 7:30 Eastern game. Brooklyn Nets 10-10 at the Atlanta Hawks 5-16, which is pretty bad for the Hawks. People were expecting them to be a little bit better. Brooklyn Nets pace of play, not really moving the ball. Yes, they are. Where do you think they are? I'll make you guess at this one.
I would probably say that they're just outside of the top 10. I would probably say 11th.
They're actually in the top 10. Good guess, though. They're 7th. I didn't realize they were playing that fast with Kyrie out. They're still really pushing the ball. So that's a good one to check on and something to take note of there, specifically since they're playing the Hawks, who are actually 10th in pace. So you got two top 10 teams in pace. That's an attention grabber right away. And then Atlanta's 25th in defense, Brooklyn 16th. So this is a game you could dial up, some guys, and that'll, generally with those rankings in defense and in pace, I've been following this, looking at these two specific things every game and determining how many more possessions it allows teams to get. And I pretty much have a good barometer of that now with the mixture. And, this should lend to good 7-8 more possessions per team, which is a big difference in a game, when you're looking at every DFS point counting. So, this should be an interesting one. One I think you might want to consider a couple guys. So what's the game script, brother?
I think everybody's in play. This is going to be a fantastic matchup for both teams. For me, I'll start with the Hawks side of the ball. There's going to be some injury news. DeAndre Hunter is right now doubtful after he dislocated a finger. Kevin Huerter's questionable. He will definitely play on a minutes limit. Even if he does play, he's expected to return soon. I would doubt that he plays in this game, just kind of my thinking. He just returned to 5-on-5 court activity not too long ago. So it seems like it'd be a little bit, almost pushing him to get back in here. Yeah. Alan Crabb has been ruled out as well. So for me, that opens up a ton of wing minutes. And I think Trae Young's always in play 10-4. It's a 10-game slate. There's a lot of superstars on here for only 1,000 more that we could consider. So I would consider him more of a GPP than a cash play on this kind of slate. But I think we can still look at Bembry. 5K is not too expensive for him if he's going to be playing 30-plus minutes, and it's probably going to be expected now with Hunter also rolled out. He just stuffs the stat sheets. He gets it done with rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, chips into the points. And I mentioned it, Evan Turner, just keep an eye on him. Played 20 minutes in the last one, so the minutes kind of went up a little bit, and it's just another wing guy that got ruled out. Cam Reddish will most likely play, but he just underwent an MRI a few days ago on his wrist, so it is something that's lingering, and I don't think that, with it lingering, unless they get some decent time off, 2 or 3 game stretch, he's most likely to be playing that like 25, 26 minute role. I don't think they're going to force him into play too much. So keep an eye on the wings with that kind of situation. But for me, it's Trae Young and Bembry would be my 1A, 1B, and then if you wanted to take a really deep kind of flyer on Evan Turner in tournaments, there's worse guys you can do.
All right. Well, I have two plug-and plays. I'm going to 100% guys, and it's not Trae Young. I love DeAndre Bembry here. He, like you said, exactly hit that on the nose, man. He is a stat stuffer, and 2 of the wings are out. I think he is such a value play. He's going to make every lineup, and I'm playing Spencer Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie is the man. Kyrie's still out. And Trae can't guard me. So I think Dinwiddie's just such an easy play. I think his salary is up, but it's not unreasonable. I think it's very in a pace up game with a high over under like this. I just love that play. And really, those are the only 2 guys that I want to play, and I love them.
I'm on you with Dinwiddie. I mean, just the matchup's fantastic. Finally, his price bump is over 7,700. It feels like he was around that price tag for just like a week straight where, 77, 78, 76, 77. He should have been more priced around this high, this like low 8 to mid 8 range. He'll probably even have another good game against Trae Young, and we might see him at 8,400 next week or next game. So, yeah, I'm right there. I'm with you. I think you can also, if you wanted to take a stab at a guy like Torian Prince or Joe Harris, it's a good matchup, but the price tags on them, it just, the upside is just a little bit limited on a night-to-night basis. But if you were to take a shot, this is the matchup to do it.
I'm with you. All right, game 5, the halfway point. Miami Heat, 15-5, just played a nail biter. When I jumped on the show, they were in overtime against Toronto at Toronto, and it was a great game. I watched the majority of the game because I expected it to be good, and it was. I mean, it was just a really close game. They are playing at Boston, who's 14-5. So you've got another great game, but a big advantage for Boston. They did not play tonight. They had a rest day. Miami had this real tough game in Toronto. Now they got to take a late flight over to Boston and get ready for that game. So, the question is going to be, how tired are the Heat going to be, and can they step up and play Boston tough? What do you see here?
I think it's going to be actually a really good basketball game. The fact that it is a back-to-back kind of takes a little bit of juice out of it. Otherwise, I think this would be just a back-to-the-wall kind of, 109, 108 game with, Marcus Smart or somebody drilling the ball up with 2.5 seconds left. I could see something like that, but I think that, I'll start with the Heat side of the ball. Bam and Butler are underpriced. Both of them are in a pretty good matchup right now, plus matchup, I'd say. Especially Bam. Boston's front court is pretty weak. They can't really defend anybody at this point. Just a mix and match between Daniel Tyson, Canner, and Robert Williams, and going small. So I definitely think that he has an advantage at 7,200. I have no problem paying that price. Goran Dragic's ruled out. That obviously opens up a little bit more opportunity for your boy Duncan over there. I know you're a big Duncan guy.
He hit a bunch of threes tonight, man.
Yeah, and that's what he does. That's exactly what he does. But he's not just a stand in the corner and shoot threes kind of guy. He chips in here and there at a couple of the counting stats. So at 4,500 on DK, I could see taking a shot at him. But for me, I think I'd rather spend up to the more expensive guys. And Kendrick Nunn, again, an option. Dragic's out. Should see a few extra minutes and everything like that. But Boston's defense is real. So I think avoiding the backcourt where I guess that's Boston's strength when you talk about guys like Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown. Even
Marcus
Tatum.
Smart, I think, is out.
Oh, is he out now? I know. I knew. I saw he was questionable. I didn't see that he was out. So
yeah, double check that because I read somewhere
doubtful.
Where he
no, you're absolutely right.
Missed a couple of games. Yeah,
it's an oblique injury. I know he was dealing with like 4 or 5 nagging injuries in general.
They said he was going to, I think, miss 2 full games minimum.
Okay, so scratch that. Play Kendrick Nunn.
It does change. That brings a Boston value guy into play. Probably.
Absolutely, we'll get to that side over there. I mean, maybe for you, I don't think it's gonna. He's gonna be in play for me though. But yeah, so that I guess that's it for Miami. I don't know. What do you have over there on Miami? I think it's just Butler, Bam, and then a little bit of Duncan and Nunn if you want to take shots on them in tournaments.
Well, watching that game tonight, they all played a decent amount of minutes. They substituted decently. Bam did a fantastic job on Pascal Siakam. I thought he defended him just brilliantly today. Hero didn't do much again. He's been a little off. Butler had a stretch where he did great. He had a triple-double tonight. So, but he extended himself. So the question will be, how much does he have left in the tank? I again sort of like the game tonight. I don't think it's a great DFS game per se. I think it's a great basketball game and one that I want to watch. But I respect both teams so much defensively that it's hard to really count on dialing somebody up. I sort of like Kemba in this game a little bit. He's been hot lately. And, Kendrick's getting a lot of minutes. Winslow's playing a lot of point now. He's back. So the question is, who's going to guard Kemba? I'm pretty sure they'll put Butler on Tatum, and that opens Kemba up a little bit and I think shuts Tatum down a little bit. So, Kemba's the guy that I would go to in this game. He would be my main play. I don't know if I trust the minutes that Spoelstra's going to disperse amongst the team after coming off a tough overtime game tonight. So it may just be Kemba for me and enjoying the game.
Hey, and Kemba's a fair price tag. DraftKings 7,600. So
I think that's
that's your
cheap.
lot. That yeah, oh
Yeah.
definitely cheap. Not the best matchup like you said, but 7,600 Kemba Walker's lightning in a bottle. He's a guy that we see leaving the third quarter with 24 DK points and finishing the game with 45. So
Right.
I definitely could see playing him. I probably won't have a ton of shares personally, but it's not a bad play whatsoever. Some people might look at Brad Wanamaker. I thought that's where we were going to go with this.
No,
Yeah,
I
no, I'm
hate
not
that
touching him.
guy.
I wouldn't. I
I
wasn't
played him
touching him at
one
all.
time, and that SOB had 6.2 points
And it
for
just
the
think
whole game.
that was with Kemba out too. With
He
him,
sunk my whole slate, and I'll never forgive him, man.
yeah, I'm with you on that. So I'm honestly probably not gonna have too many shares of anybody on Boston. If I'm looking at anything, it's gonna be the few guys I mentioned on Miami.
All right, man. Outstanding. All right, the halfway point, 5 games left to go. Quick mention, again, this show will be released late tonight so that you can listen to it on the way to work tomorrow, at lunch, during the day. We look at this as a 3-step process. Listen to the show, start building your lineup in your head, get that shell lineup started, think it through. Then you want to follow us all on Twitter. That's really important because all the news that breaks, anything that changes, it's all going to make a big difference in what you build. And then, the third step is, just be glued right straight to your computer that last 30 minutes before lock. Take into consideration everything we went over in the pod. Take a consideration over any of the player changes or news that's come down the pike, and then build the lineup from there. That's the best way to go, man. Don't, I would say steer away from diving into too much information from the touts, because you're going to see a lot of the same lineups out there. Trust the process and following through with what we're bringing forward here and what we're tweeting out throughout the day, and build it from there. You can find me on Twitter 24/7 at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. He is at Mike Apotria, MikeApotria. Our man Andrew is at Language Olympic, and Miles is at Miles6565. Also at Hoopball Fantasy. That is where you will get all the information from hoop-ball.com. Miles and Andy and the team there, they're posting things throughout the day, and it'll be tweeted out as well. Also go to hoop-ball.com, click on forums, click on DFS thread. I'm constantly putting in information in there, as well as our other pros, and just keep an eye on that throughout the day. And then once you listen to the pod, like I said, take that second if you can, rate, subscribe, and just get involved with that. Review it briefly if you can, and we'll just keep on motoring down the road. But all right, let's get on to Game 6, the Memphis Grizzlies 8 p.m. game against the Chicago Bulls. Two teams not playing well, and Ja Morant's out for a while. They're 6-14. The Bulls 7-14. One of those really lousy games. Memphis is 6th in the league in pace, although they lose a little bit of that, obviously, without Ja Morant, who's one of the fastest guys in the league. So that hurts a little bit, but they are getting up and down the floor. Chicago's 12th, so they move as well. There definitely could be some points. This could be one of those sleeper games that's going to slide under the radar, especially when you look at the defensive rankings. Memphis is 23rd, which is pretty darn bad, and Chicago is 13th, so somewhat middle of the pack, a little bit better than expected. But again, if you can pick or choose a guy from this game to pluck out that can get you some big fantasy points, it's probably not a bad move. I'm not going to go Levine because I like Dylan Brooks' defense. I think he gets after it, gets up on people a little bit. But let you do the breakdown, and then I'll chime in. What you got?
I think that taking advantage of John Morant's injury is something that we're going to want to do on this slate. Whether you want to look at the Anthony Melton for a cheaper price tag, or if you want to go up and spend on Tyus Jones for a little bit more, both are very much in play. Both are playing enough minutes, and both are solid point per minute fantasy producers. Even Grayson Allen's getting a decent amount of minutes off the bench, so obviously I feel a little less secure about him. But I think all three of those guys are in play. And then just kind of monitoring the news. Brandon Clark has already been ruled out. He's going to be week to week, kind of like with Morant. Valanciunas is questionable. So, Caboclo burned us in the last one hard. And you know what? It's mostly because Jaren Jackson Jr. didn't get into foul trouble. So when that happens, it happens. He managed to not foul out of a game, played 34 minutes in it. Game prior to that, he played 19 minutes. Caboclo played a boatload. So it's really going to be dependent on how often they need to use him. It's not like they're going to go out there and just run him out there. Like it's a force to be reckoned with. They were also going against Sabonis and Miles Turner, two guys that played big. So that's why I wanted to mention him. I think he's a GPP play. I wouldn't risk it in cash after seeing him, because I thought for sure with those guys ruled out and going against a big front court that they did, that he'd be locked into 30 minutes, and we just didn't see it, Coach.
Yeah, it was disappointing for sure, but I get it. I mean, he was, the whole industry did. He was super highly owned and disappointed. Triple J had a really good game, though. I had fired up Triple J as well, and he came through for me surprisingly. You always have to sort of pinch your nose and hold your breath when you put him in your lineup, because you're so afraid he's going to get in foul trouble. I can't even watch. I get anxiety attack watching Triple J play, because he reaches and tries to swat everything. I'm better off just not watching him play. But he's in play again. You've got to consider him. Chicago's front line is not exactly fantastic either with Wendell Carter, but I guess you have to sort of consider Triple J and Wendell on the other side, just in the fact that both teams are so shallow at the big spots right now that they're both somewhat in play. I'm not going to go. I'm afraid of the Melton Tyus Jones thing of the split minutes. I was really impressed with watching DeAnthony Melton the other day, though. He's good, and props to you. I think you were the one that said that. Didn't you say that he was really a good player?
Yeah, no, he looked fantastic when he was with Houston his rookie season. Yeah. So I'm just, and they went out of their way. Like they were chomping on the bits when they found out that they can have a chance of getting Melton. The Grizzlies were really excited when they brought him in. So don't be shocked to see him keep playing significant minutes. I mean, yes, John Morant's the point guard of the future. But it wouldn't shock me if when push comes to shove, maybe in like a year and a half, if it's between Melton and Tyus Jones, we see Melton stay.
Yeah, and if I was forced to play one of them, I'd probably play Melton. But I'm a little bit afraid of that mixture of minutes that they'll get. But it's an interesting take for sure. Really, nobody else. Like I say, I'm not interested in Levine in this particular matchup. So it's if you can pick the right guy or two, I think the bigs may have decent games, but it's certainly not a game you want to focus on, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think it's just like you said. You're taking shots at most of the value. I'm not spending up on too much on this game. I don't really want to play Levine too much. I've been on him as of late. I think the usage will still be there for him, but just not the game I feel comfortable paying $8K for him. I think I might be willing to take a shot at Satoransky in a lineup or two, just knowing that he's playing 30-plus minutes. Getting that time at small forward is huge for him. And this just kind of feels like it's a good matchup for him. I kind of like him in this one as well. So he'd probably be my primary target on the Bulls. I wouldn't mind playing a little bit of Wendell Carter. And then, the other guys that we talked about on Memphis. And, if you want to play Jaren Jackson, I like it. I'm not going to knock you. I think it's a fair price tag. I just don't know if I'm going to end up there at the end of the night.
Yeah, you know what? I like the Sato take, too. I read something today where Kobe White was squawking a little bit in the press. I don't know if you saw his quotes, but he said it's hard to get in a rhythm. He's not used to coming off the bench and not getting minutes. And, so he's starting to cry a little bit. And that's not going to go over too well with the coach. So I think Satoransky may even get extra run, and he may be a good play. So just something to keep in mind, keep an eye on.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out, I think we touched on this last show. I might have brought it up. Chris Dunn's playing a little bit more as well, and they actually started Chris Dunn, Satoransky, and Levine. So,
There you go.
three
Yeah.
guard lineup right there. I mean, Satoransky's a little bit bigger, so he could get away with playing that small forward. But yeah, when you're playing Chris Dunn over your rookie top pick, you're in the doghouse.
Yeah, I think he is. All right, cool. Let's go to the 8 p.m. game. It is the 13-7 Indiana Pacers at the 8-11 Oklahoma City Thunder. As far as pace goes in this game, Indiana's down at 22, which is to be expected. They do play a lot of half-court stuff, Brogdon to Sabonis or Turner. Definitely try to control pace and keep that down to sort of a half-court game. The Oklahoma City Thunder are 23rd. They're also not really getting up and down, even though they haven't had really the big post presence with Adams and Noel like some people had thought. This game is interesting, man. I don't like the pace. Defensively, the Thunder are 14th right now, so pretty much dead in the middle of the pack. And let's see, the Pacers are up to 8th, so they're clamping down. I do respect their defense both on the perimeter and in the paint. So that scares me off. Of some of these Thunder guys. I really, I haven't been going to the Thunder much at all. I've also, I played Shea quite a bit early, and his price hasn't been conducive really to plugging him in. So I don't really like any of the Thunder guys much at all. Chris Paul still plays good D for an older guy, so that might squeeze a little on Brogdon now that the price is up. I guess the only guy here that I'd like to dial up, but he'll be highly owned, is Sabonis. Obviously it's a game back at Oklahoma City where he started his career, and they traded him away in that Paul George deal. So I think Sabonis playing back at Oklahoma City is a nice little narrative, and I think he'll jump up and grab some usage and some ownership. But I like him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that for me, it's just pretty much what you said. I don't really want to play anybody on OKC. They're all priced appropriately. It's a tough matchup for him. I think the narrative puts Sabonis into play with his price tag. But Indiana blew this team out by almost 30 points the last time they faced earlier in the season, and everybody is priced right. So if you want to take shots on Sabonis and Brogdon, I wouldn't mind it. Prefer Sabonis over Brogdon in this matchup. And that's probably it for me. I think maybe Warren at 55, but just not the paced game I like to look at him in. I got him right the other time that we were on a show together, Coach, but I just don't think this is the one for him.
I'm with you, man. I think that's a pretty easy one, and we'll probably be with the rest of the industry on this one, but it is what it is. Yeah. All right, this next game is interesting. 8:30 Eastern game. Minnesota Timberwolves 10-9 at the Dallas Mavericks 14-6. We talked a little bit about this game prior to the show too. Let me touch on a couple of things. Minnesota is the 4th quickest pace in the league, so that's going to help Dallas a lot. Dallas. Obviously, with Luka running the half-court set, they're 19th, so they're not the fastest-paced team. They will turn the ball over and get some fast break points, but generally they're going to get a half-court set together and let Luka orchestrate the offense from there. Defensively, Minnesota is they've actually moved up a little bit. They were much worse at the beginning of the year. They're all the way up to 12th. So that is surprising. They were down in the 20s at the beginning of the year. So they're 12th defensively, which is not bad. Dallas is only 17th. So, pretty even squared up there. Now, I guess what the big point here for me is there's two things. Dallas is on a back-to-back. And they got to travel back home for tomorrow's game. So that definitely hurts a little bit. Minnesota did not play today. They're already here in Dallas and chilling out. So, that evens the playing field a little bit. But what I do want to say is I watched the Mavericks game, was toggling back and forth between that and the Raptors Heat game. And, Porzingis hardly played. He had got in tremendous foul trouble early in this game. And I'm not looking at the stats right now, but the dude couldn't have played more than like 20 minutes. I mean, he just didn't get any time on the floor. And then they blew out in the fourth. And Luka, as we mentioned at the top of the show, just crushed it with 28 and 18. But he didn't play in the fourth quarter either because it was a blowout. So you've got guys that weren't extended. But I also know Carlisle on back-to-backs does not like to push his guys. And the Mavericks bench is so damn deep. It's unbelievable. I mean, there's 10 guys that are getting good minutes. And tonight was amazing. The Mavs were down 11 at one point. They made a little run, and he brought J.J. Barea in, who has hardly gotten to play at all. He only played 7 minutes, but in that time he had 8 points and 4 assists and sparked the Mavs into the lead and then didn't get back in the game. So I got a feeling he'll get some extra minutes tomorrow. And again, I've talked about it so many different times now ad nauseum, but all these guys are playing a ton of minutes. They're all sharing time. So it's so impossible to play anybody on Dallas other than Porzingis or Luka. I would not recommend Porzingis at this point, though. I mean, I've watched him so many games in a row, and he just disappoints a lot. I mean, he does not bang inside. He's not been consistent. And I don't think he's worth right now the salary that he's looking for. As far as we both know, and we both talked about this, right now he's somewhat unguardable, man. He is stinking unguardable. And against this matchup with Minnesota, I just don't know how you don't start your lineup with Luka tomorrow, knowing that he didn't play in the fourth, wasn't extended. And I just think he's a great play. I know he's going to be highly owned. I know he's the highest salaried guy. But don't you have to start your lineup with Luka tomorrow?
It's definitely going to be hard not to, play him. I mean, at the price tag, I don't really care at this point. He's just a walking machine when it comes to fantasy production. So 11-6, we know that there's, pretty good, weaknesses on Minnesota's team. Jeff Teague's out of the starting lineup now. Yes, They still have Rocco, but we're not really worried about Towns. We're not really worried about Culver at this stage in his career just yet. He definitely has all the capabilities to be a very good defender in the future. But you're a rookie. It's tough. It's a hard adjustment when you're, especially worried about handling a little bit of the ball and all these other aspects of being inserted into a starting lineup so early in your career that, it's hard to keep track of everything, I guess you could say. But for me, I could definitely see Luka just absolutely smashing on this slate. To be honest, I'm going to have a lot of them. And generally, if Luka's on a slate, it's almost like I feel like I'm playing him 60% of my lineups at this point. So when I say I'm going to be underweight, I mean I might, instead of playing 60% of them, I might play 35. But I think I'm going to actually ease back just a slight edge on this one. Just because I think that, and it has nothing to do with Luka, but more or less just to think of just over the past day or two, including tonight's slate, which tonight on Tuesday, there's a lot of these star players that are flying under the radar with their pricing in this mid-tier price range, where I think we'll be able to take advantage of a couple of them. So I think I'm almost leaning a little bit more towards a fair and balanced approach on this slate so far, the way I'm looking at it. But it's Luka, for Christ's sakes. Play the guy. It's you really can't argue against it at this point.
Yeah. What about Minnesota? Are you going to fire anybody up on that side?
I'm not looking at anybody on Minnesota outside of Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins' assists have to back up. He got 7 last game, handling the ball a ton. I think I would prefer Wiggins over Towns, price per dollar, 7,800 to 10,600. I'm looking at like a 10 to 15 point difference, but almost a $3K different price tag.
I think I'm going to dial up Cat. I think I'm going to make this my key game, try to get balance on both sides and hope that it stays close. I think this game I think the advantage of the back-to-back issue with Dallas helps Minnesota stay in this game. And I'm not really sure Dallas really has an answer to really stop good centers. I mean, they're going to split Powell and Kleba on Cat. They'll split duty there, and they'll do okay. But Cat can stretch the floor. He's going to take a bunch of threes, and I just think he's a tough matchup. We saw what Anthony Davis can do. The big athletic centers that can shoot the ball are sort of Dallas's kryptonite right now. So, even though it's a 10-game slate, I mean, I really think I may dial up Cat and Luka as my two pay-up guys on the whole slate, and then try to build a roster around those two guys.
It makes perfectly sense in a game script scenario. I mean, if you get, God forbid, that game goes to overtime and you have both those stars in it, you're counting your money at that point.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm telling you right now, I watched that game today. Luka sat 7 minutes and 20 seconds of the first half. They gave him an extended break because of the back-to-back coming. So he sat a lot there, and then he didn't play the fourth quarter. So people are going to see 28 and 18 and think he busted his ass, and he didn't. He really did not play that much, and he did not play that hard because he didn't have to. A lot of the rebounds were just – it was one of those nights where everything was just bouncing to him. I mean, it was a career high in rebounding, but there was even one play where it bounced off. He tipped it. It hit two guys and came right back to him. So it was just one of those nights. It's not like he was – diving on the floor for the ball or anything. I think he's going to have a ton of gas in the tank. I'm really excited for this game. I think it's a big edge for the industry because, I know he gets tons of play right now, but considering it's a back-to-back and everything, people are going to be a little bit hesitant. They're going to look at Trey. They're going to look at Giannis, and they're going to look at AD and LeBron. And I think it might be a little less ownership than normal for him, and I don't think it's justified. And I think Cat is a perfect correlation play. I am fired up for this, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned all those other guys because out of all those guys you mentioned, I would prefer Luka over, the LA guys, over Giannis, and over Trae Young.
Beautiful. Well, you're with me then.
Yes, sir.
All right, 2 games left. 9:00 game. Los Angeles Lakers 17-3 at the Utah Jazz 12-9. Pace-wise, we've got the LA Lakers 17th. Utah Jazz, of course, not as fast. They are 18th, one spot behind. They've moved up. So Utah is actually moving the ball a little bit. I don't know what's going on there, but somebody has got them stepping on the pedal a little bit. So 17th and 18th pace. We know the Lakers are fantastic on D. They are 3rd overall right now in the entire league in defensive efficiency. And Utah is 10th. So you've got two teams that are in the bottom half of the league in pace and two teams that really get after it defensively. I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of ownership on the Utah guys like normal. I believe Conley is out. Is that correct?
Yeah, Conley has been ruled out.
Okay, so where does that value come in? Is it Moutier?
Nah, it's not Moutier.
So who's going to get the Conley minutes?
Mr. Jinglin' Joe.
Joe Ingles. Okay, that makes sense. Somebody's got to pick up those minutes and that effectiveness. So interesting. Now, I'm not going to be a big Utah guy here. And certainly with the fact that, like I said, the defensive prowess of both teams and the fact that the pace isn't, really there and it's in Utah, their crowd gets riled up. This is going to be a flat-out pass game for me, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, so I don't mind taking a shot on Joe Ingles. I think that's a fair price tag. Like I just said, we'll definitely see a big usage bump for him, a little bit more ball handling responsibility. I do think Moutier will play at increased minutes, but I just don't like this matchup in general for many players on either side of the ball. So I think, going with the mid-tier price on Joe Ingles, also small forward eligible, Sometimes I struggle trying to find a guy that I feel confident in that price range at that
Yeah.
position. And then I think Donovan Mitchell, while I don't love the matchup, but 7,100 with no Conley is just too cheap for him. We've seen it night in and night out. This guy pretty much has a floor of 30 something, and we've seen upward of 40 and 50 throughout the season. So I think they would be my two primary options on the Utah side. And with LA, I've been doing the same thing all season long. I'm either playing Anthony Davis or LeBron James or absolutely nobody from this team, and I'm going to stick with doing that. It's been working for me. I just don't need to go there. So if you wanted to take a shot at either one of those guys, their price tags are more than fair. Again, I would probably prefer James to Davis if I were to push come to shove, but I'd rather play Luka over both of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, just a note of concern is Donovan Mitchell struggles against Danny Green. Danny Green gets all up in his business. So something to, maybe think twice on with Mitchell. But I'm with you, man. I think this game will be a little bit more lower scoring type game. I don't want to pay up for LeBron or Davis. It seems like everybody feels like you got to take one or the other every night, and I just don't think it's necessary in a game like this against a team that's that good defensively and plays that slow. So, all right, dude, let's go to the final game of the night. It is the 10th game. It's the Sacramento Kings at 8-11 at the Portland Trail Blazers of 8-12. Interesting game for sure. Two teams I have not been going to very much at all lately. Pace-wise, Sacramento is playing a lot slower than the people thought. They're 19th in the. I'm sorry, that's defensive efficiency. Let me look at pace here. They're playing even slower than that. They're 29th, second to last in pace. So somehow Luke Walton came here. Last year, they were third in the league in pace. They ran up and down the floor. Now, I know De'Aaron Fox is out, and that's half of it, but 29th in the league in pace, I still can't believe that, man. So Sacramento is not playing fast whatsoever. And Portland, on the other side, is up to ninth. So it's a monster pace up game for Sacramento, which helps the likes of the Buddy Hildes and Bogdan Bogdanoviches. On the defensive side of the ball, for the efficiency-wise, like I said, we've got Sacramento 19th, and we have the Portland Trail Blazers at a disappointing 21st. Part of the reason why they're not winning any games, and Carmelo's not going to help the defense. So, yes, these teams don't play good defense, and it is a pace-up game for Sacramento. I think that, it's just hard to get the right guy on the right night with both of these teams, it seems like. Between, Carmelo and CJ and Dame splitting usage with Portland, and then, do you play Hield or Bogdanovich, one or the other or both or neither? You got Kojo still getting some run there, but man, these teams are hard to nail down, man. Do you like anybody here?
I do. I kind of love Lillard on this slate tonight. I think
Yeah.
looking at him at DK, there's no way he should be priced at 8,100.
Yeah, I can't believe he's that low. That's the
That's
lowest
insane,
price ever.
and that's part of the reason what I was talking about, just kind of making me lean towards more of that fair and balanced approach. Because this is a guy that should be closer to that low 9K range, possibly on some stretches upwards to the high nines. So I have
Yeah.
no problem playing him. He's already cooked them twice this season for an average of about 50 DK points. So he's almost one of my lock and load plays. I just love that price tag. I think getting that involvement into the late game hammer is going to be something that you're going to like watching at the end of the night. Instead of it going down, it'll go up a little bit. I always mention shooting guards versus Sacramento, so that's kind of where this is where push comes to shove. I don't like playing McCollum, but I love playing shooting guards against Sacramento. But then I look at Lillard and I'm like, that price tag, it's just too enticing. Only 1,200 more, so I will have more Lillard than I will McCollum. Both those guys very much in play. Not touching Carmelo Anthony or any of the bench guys really. So that would probably be most of my love for Portland would be those two guys. Obviously, that's what most people would be looking at. And then on the other side of the ball, I think Buddy Hield very much in play. I think it's a tough matchup for him, but 7,400, if he's going to continue shooting as much as he has been, like I've mentioned last time, these 20-plus shot attempt games is what we want to see. I'll keep riding him for then. Bogdanovich got taken off of the injury report, which is one thing that I think is encouraging. His minutes were limited. He has been dealing with, I believe, his hamstring tightness.
Hamstring,
yeah, and they said it was actually very painful. He said it was extremely painful, but he was able to play through it and manage it. So monitor that situation. I mean, I think he's a little risky. At 5,700, I'm very enticed if I know he's playing 30-plus minutes. But, with all the other factors, Trevor Ariza actually made a return after a month of not playing, played 12 minutes in the last game. So there's a few other factors that could be taking minutes away, whether it's his health or it's just a few other guys coming back. But if he's not playing 30-plus minutes, I really don't want much to do with it. So I think it's Hield and Belicia for me on the Sacramento side. Yeah, any power forward going against Carmelo Anthony, sign me up. I'm okay with that.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't blame you, man. Oh, that's a good take. I mean, Portland's backcourt has not defended well. Dame and McCollum have been disappointing. So, I mean, that keeps Hield and Bogdanovich in play for me. I think, this is one of those games where, I think some people may even stack it. You may see some McCollum, Lillard, and Bogdanovich Hield and just, see if it rolls out. But, it's one of those tough games. You just have to hit the right guy. I think they all have potential to smash, but they also have a potential to not make value. There has been a noted dip in Dame's efficiency and usage since Carmelo joined the team. So that is something to be a little bit concerned about. But I don't think there's anybody on Sacramento that can guard Dame either. So, his price is so darn cheap now, it's ridiculous. That alone, makes him somewhat of a value play. If you want to get some correlation and go like a Hield Dame, I think that's very reasonable if you can fit them in price-wise. I don't like the periphery guys in this game. I don't like the bigs. I don't trust Whiteside. I don't really like anybody else but the guard play in this game. And a lot of it will just do with, who I can fit in. I would like to get some exposure from this game, not because it's the late game, but just because I think I think the backcourts on both sides will do well. And a lot of it's just going to be on build and news as we go through the day tomorrow. So something, keep an eye on that game. I think, it's good to have a piece or two of it, though. All right. Did we find anybody to Chicken Suit Challenge your earlier? Let's see. It was the Suns guy.
Bridges. Yeah, Bridges. No, it was a very weird slate. Like I said, I don't think there's not a ton of value that necessarily has opened up just
Bridges. Yet. I'll take DeAnthony Melton.
No way. Get out of here.
You think DeAnthony Melton's that much better than Mikal Bridges?
I think when you're talking about the opportunity and usage standpoint and for like a DFS scenario, yeah, real life basketball, no, I think Bridges is much better than him as a real life basketball player. But no, I think that I could see him. His floor is probably about 12 points higher on this kind of slate. Not a bad one. I mean, hey,
I'm thinking, I'm looking. No, I get it. I don't agree though. I think they're going to be a little bit closer. I mean, I'm not a Mikal Bridges guy.
I was going to say, we'll switch it up then. You take him.
I thought about taking him. I really did. I'm not trusting DeAnthony Melton's minutes yet. That's the only concern that I have. But there's no way I'm rooting for Mikal Bridges. I can't stand him. I think he stinks. Let's see. I can take somebody really weird just to try to. I don't want to give you the lead, though. We're tied 4-4, I think, aren't we?
Yes, sir.
Let's see, man. I could challenge Joe Ingles. I'm not thrilled with that pick of yours either.
I'll take the jingle.
Jingles against. You won't let me take Bembry, will you?
I feel like that's a sucker bet, Coach, but I'll do it. I'll give you the point. How about that?
I'll give you 3.5 fantasy points and Jingles, and I'll take Bembry. That's more than fair.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. That sounds good.
Okay. All right, you're on. You are on. I almost was going to take the gutsiest pick in the history of basketball and take J.J. Barea, who
I would have scorched
hardly
you.
ever plays. I was going to take him. Do you have a bum that you can throw
I'll
in
let you
against
pick.
my
I don't
Patriots?
think J.J. Barea plays more than 5 or 6 minutes tomorrow.
Oh, he's gonna step up and shock you with like 15 minutes of super basketball. I don't know. Give me a guy. You tell me.
I know
Take
I
JJ.
mentioned somebody that was at that like 3. Oh, give me Evan Turner, J.J. Barea. I'll do that.
Perfect. That's very fair.
I think that's
Neither
the same
guy
price tag.
that we're going to be the only two guys in the United States sitting at the end of our couch rooting for one of those guys to get like 2 fantasy points.
That's what
All
they
right,
will
so
get.
we got a double. We got a double dip. That's beautiful, man. Double dip.
All right. Now this is our first double night, so I'm looking forward to that.
I know. Good stuff. All right. Well, fantastic. Any final words on the slate?
No, man. I think just, everybody, thank you again for everything that you guys are doing for us over here. We're going to continue just doing our best that we could for you and providing content on a night-to-night basis.
Absolutely. And jump on hoop-ball.com. There's the Brewski newsletter that comes out. It's phenomenal. You can sign up for. Fantasy NBA Today, our man Dan Bespris is on Monday through Friday. It's the best fantasy NBA show in the industry. So tune into that as much as you can. And, I'm going to be actually on there with him a little bit tomorrow. So I'll have a guest appearance on his show tomorrow, talk a little DFS with him. But awesome stuff, man. We appreciate everybody, and we appreciate the viewership. Keep hitting us up on Twitter. Again, it's at JOESARVADI and at MIKEAPOTRIA. And, shoot us some info, man. Tell us who you like in these Chicken Soup Challenge games. I need a little JJ Barea love, man.
Yeah, everybody send Coach a nice tweet and laugh at him for that one.
No. It's going to be a great call. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Hoopball NBA DFS today. For my man Mike Apotria and for our buddies Andrew and Miles, our other pros here at hoop-ball.com, I am Coach, and we will catch you again tomorrow for another shot at crushing it in NBA DFS.
Take care, guys.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.